Aura jumped down from the city walls and successfully entered the capital's perimeter. She landed on top of some random roof and ran along the rooftops. The magical beasts followed along and jumped. Each of them moved in a weightless manner as they trailed behind Aura. While turning around to check on the magical beasts, Aura noticed that the Iris Tyrannus basileus was swinging its thick and girthy tail around. Aura waved to it, causing it to wave its tail around with even more fervor. Incidentally, it managed to destroy a portion of the battlements. You need to get moving too. The Iris Tyrannus basileus jumped up for a second after she gave her orders telepathically, and began to ponderously walk along the walls. Aura's first destination was the Magician's Guild. Because it was home to numerous magic items, it should be on high alert. It was widely considered to be the place that would put up the greatest amount of resistance in the capital. Although the enemy's combat strength was not an issue, to gather every piece of magic item in that place would probably take a considerable amount of time. Perhaps she would have to call in reinforcements. Aura cut across the capital through its rooftops as she pondered these things. The capital spanned a vast amount of land, but to Aura's speed when she was serious, it was not a problem at all. Not long after she had jumped from the city walls, she arrived at her destination. None of the magical beasts had slowed her down. Well no, the Garper would have slowed her down, so it was carried along by the basilisk. Along the long perimeter walls were 3 5-story towers. The Magician's Guild, what was essentially multiple 2-story tall structures that were taller than they were wide, had shut their grid-shaped gates. To the sides of the gate were 2 2-story tall gatehouses. She had not detected the presence of people outside, but human activity could be seen inside. Humans were on the watch. Aura jumped into the guild's land and looked at the map in her hands, comparing the building's appearances. That's there, so this is here, right? Utilizing the intel they had received from their corroborators within the capital, they had a rough sketch of the guild's appearance. Magic items could be somewhere within here. However, because there were multiple probable spots for them, they were not exactly sure where the magic items were kept. They were not able to capture any high-tier magic casters to question, so Aura had to make her own judgment. While it was tiresome, the land area held by the Magician's Guild meant that this was much more efficient than a human wave attack. Let's go then. At the same time Aura began marching towards the gates, people emerged from it. There were 5 men and a woman. An elderly figure stood in front of them. Aura suddenly thought, oh. If they held significant ranks within the Magician's Guild, it would save her a lot of time, but Aura could not help but feel disappointed after taking a look at the elder. The elder had to be a warrior from his appearance. He wore typical dojo attire, black from the waist down, and a light greenish blue from the waist up. 2 swords hung by his waist side and a breastplate covered his torso. He had a full head of white, not a single strand of hair was black. His arms were slender, as expected of his age, yet they did not sag. They were thin yet hard like steel. Beast-like perceptive eyes sized Aura up from top to bottom multiple times. Probably, but let us confirm it first. Boy, you are a subordinate of the Sorcerer King, are you not? Aura surveyed the humans behind the elder. While they wore similar clothing to him, none of them was with swords. This elder was probably the master of a dojo then, with the others being his disciples. While she could not figure out what connections the Magician's Guild had to a dojo, there had to be a connection for them to be protecting this place. Although she felt like they might be able to provide more intel to her than the average magic caster, it would probably be non-essential intel anyways. Why are you not answering? I will have you know that I will not go easy on you, even if you are just a brat. To have put up such a front in spite of Aura's magical beast, was probably because they had not shown any malicious intent or bloodlust. Or perhaps their opponents were brave, had made their resolves, and were confident in themselves. If you're willing to become my guide, I will kill you, you know. These children won't attack you either. Aura planned to keep that promise, since Mare would kill them all later anyway. You dare babble your mouth, brat. You may not pass beyond this point. I cannot allow that demon summoning item to fall into the hands of people like you. Aura lost her composure and laughed. Finding out that the thing was still here was enough for her. She had to secure it and give it back to Demiurge. Is that so? So what's your answer to my question? I refuse. In any case, I fess. The elder fell down with a thud. Far exceeding the limits of human dynamic vision acuity, Aura had knocked, drawn, and let loose an arrow. The elder's head, pierced by Aura's lightning-fast arrow, split open like a pomegranate. Its contents spilt all over the place. I don't have time for chit-chat. Well then, next, looks like everybody's feeling the same way, huh? If that's the case, how about you run in and grab a powerful-looking magic caster to help me out? The humans lined up behind the elder were stunned expressionless. Aura felt like it would be too troublesome to wait till their brains had rebooted, so she gave an order to her beasts. Kill them all. Aura spoke as she walked towards the gate. The magical beast zoomed past her like a whirlwind and pounced on the remaining humans. Only blood and guts remained on the ground afterwards. Mare sat by himself on top of the second highest tower in the castle, overlooking the capital. In the battle that commenced 3 days before they had arrived at this city, Mare had killed a significant number of humans. Most of them were men, however. He had not seen women or children among their ranks. In that case, what was left behind were probably all of the weaklings. Mare's expression was filled with sorrow. He could no longer keep count of how many times he had run those numbers in his head. He could not figure it out. What should I do? If someone else were around, Mare would have consulted them, but no one else was there. Well, no, the Hanzos should be there, but they would not appear in front of Mare. Plus, it was useless to ask them this question. Well, what should I do to destroy a city this fast more efficiently and kill every human within it? Before Mare came to the capital, he had destroyed multiple cities with his master and gained relevant experience for it. That was why he had a clear understanding of how difficult it was to destroy a city, of how difficult of a task it was to kill every single inhabitant in it. Repeated and continuous use of magic could destroy every structure in the city and render it into a mountain of rubble, but to guarantee that everything within the city died along with that was a difficult thing to do. For example, if he used magic to induce an earthquake, it would destroy all above-ground structures as well as underground facilities. People within said structures would largely be crushed to death or buried alive. A magically induced earthquake could not affect things outside of the spell's range, so people hiding in houses in other areas would not notice. The sound of collapsing buildings and the wails of people dying was another matter entirely. If people heard those noises, there might be a lot of people who would come out of hiding to investigate, look out of windows, or something. People who covered their eyes and ears in fear were the best, because if they coiled up into balls inside their own homes, believing that things would soon pass over, he could just cast another spell and be done with them. What the problem was, were people who believed that they would be the next to be crushed or the inherently brave bunch. What was even more troublesome were the weaklings who would become suicidal under stress, causing them to run in unpredictable directions. Their moods were infectious. Once an inhabitant noticed those who were running away, they would abandon their homes to run away too. If they chose to run to still-standing structures, things would still be easy. However, terrified people tend to make irrational decisions such as choosing paths through collapsed areas, or even try to save others trapped under the debris. They made the situation much more difficult to handle. I really wish they wouldn't run away. If it turned into that kind of a situation, he would have to use another AoE spell to kill them, effectively doing twice the work for the same result. If not for the time constraints, doing things twice over would not be such a big deal, but this was an operation carried out alongside his master. There was no way he could allow such a thing to happen. Reason being that he would be wasting his master's precious time, but also because he would feel ashamed from having to admit that he was not good enough to end it in one go. If it were an earthquake-related solution, he could not guarantee that it would kill everybody. There would be more survivors than he would have expected. Well, he could start a fire just in case to kill those who remain. A fire would be highly visible to people far away. It could also trigger primal flight responses, causing even more people to run away. What a dilemma. I have to practice more and become more natural at this. Yukubiku Chigama had gifted Mare the ability to destroy large quantities of enemies. In terms of how wide of an area he could affect, Mare was confident that no other floor guardian could rival his abilities. That was why if he could not successfully destroy the city and kill all of its inhabitants, it would make him question his own worth and existence. Perhaps Yukubiku Chigama would be angry to see Mare like this. Mare could not help but imagine Yukubiku Chigama disciplining him, causing his eyes to water. Before the tears could fall, Mare wiped them away. I have to try my best, Ains-sama said that too. Mare was deeply respectful and grateful towards Ains. If Ains had not led Mare to practice demolishing cities and to accrue experience over multiple tries, he would not have been able to grow as much as he did now. Now that he thought about it, back when the war first started, Mare was asked to destroy a small town. The results of that event were honestly terrible. Those were results that would bring shame upon Yukubiku Chigama. But while Mare took a gigantic hit to his ego, Ains's gentle words made him so happy that he could cry. Ains had told Mare that as long as he understood that he lacked experience in something, all he had to do was study hard to better himself. If one of the guardians had told him that, it would not have moved Mare as much as it did. However, the one who said it was a being of equal status to Yukubiku Chigama, one of the supreme beings. Mare made his resolve. He will destroy more towns and cities and kill more people to become the person Yukubiku Chigama wanted him to be. Okay. While his voice was still that of a cute child's, his tone was filled with an unusually strong spirit, not expected of Mare. If the other guardians were to see him now and compare him to the Mare they knew, they would probably be shocked speechless. I'll do it right. Mare's hands clenched into fists as he held them in front of himself. In any case, he had to make practical use of what he had learned so far. To destroy the capital and kill all of its inhabitants, hey ho. Mare threw his tightly clenched fists upward. The Hanzos hiding behind him raised their fists as well.